have to spread out the parashiot to make it to fit the extra month that we have. And also, don't forget that the reason why we have a second Adar is to push Nisan into the spring season. That's one of the main reasons for that, for the purpose of that. Today we're going to speak about a kind of a follow-up to last week's shiur. We spoke about the mask of Moshe Rabbeinu when he put on the mask because his face was emitting so much light. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh learns on this parasha that right after that situation, this first paragraph of Parashat Vayakel is actually in chronological order. So last week we ended off, the Jewish people couldn't take the countenance from Moshe's face. This week it starts off, Vayakel Moshe Kol Adat B'nai Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Jewish people, don't be scared, let's gather. Vayakel means le'akil, to gather people. Comes from the word kahal. Vayomer Alehem, he tells them, Ele hadevarim asher tziva Hashem la'asot otam. This is what Hashem commanded you to do. So last week we spoke about prayer. I'm very happy to say that a lot of people actually took the challenge. They took the challenge. We put a challenge last week out. For those that didn't know, the challenge was to go to shul, daven with a minyan, and you have to daven everything in order from the beginning till the end for just 3 days, 4 days. See how you feel. See how it works. Let's see if that's possible to do. So I did get a lot of good feedback, but I also got some, not negative feedback about the mitzvah, chas v'shalom, but we got some negative feedback about I'm going late to work. I had to wake up extra early. I'm really, really tired. I crashed on Shabbat because I did it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after your shiur. So there was positive, and then there was also some negative. So the question that I have to deal with now that we're going to bring up is you have to give a solution. What's the solution? People have work, and work comes in the way of our spirituality. So how do we find a pshara? How do we find something to, the Goyim call it work-life balance. We have to call it work-Torah balance. I don't know. We have to find a good name. Maybe that'll be the name of So listen to what Moshe Rabbeinu, he gathers the Jewish people, and he tells them, Sheshet yamim te'aseh melacha, 6 days you should do work. Uvayom ha'shevi'i, the 7th day, Yeh lachem kodesh, will be a holy day for you. Shabbat Shabbaton la'Hashem, it's going to be a Shabbat for Hashem. Kol ha'oseh bo melacha, chas v'shalom, yumat. Anybody that does melacha on Shabbat shall be put to death. This is talking befaresia, on purpose. So you go on purpose, and you go in public, and you do a avera mechalel Shabbat, yumat, they would stone him. Lo tavaru esh b'chol moshevotechem b'yom Shabbat, do not start a fire. Do not mix like the coals on Shabbos to make a fire stronger. It's forbidden to do that on Shabbos. So we're going to delve in this pasuk after Moshe Rabbeinu gathers the Jewish people. He teaches them about what? About Shabbat. Today's shiur, by the way, is sponsored by, again, second week in a row, by Aaron Leviev, Aaron Leviev, who is mitnadev to the shiurim left and right. Hashem should bless him and watch Parnasa b'shefa. Now, the Torah has nothing superfluous. The Torah has nothing extra. We have to put that in our mind because the Torah is a divine sefer. It's a divine book. And because it's divine, it means it's perfect. Because it's perfect, that means that there cannot be two of the same message in there. One time is enough. So there's 2 psukim that I want to delve into. The first pasuk is in Shemot, Perek Chav, pasuk Tet. Sheshet yamim ta'avod ve'asita kol melachtecha. 6 days you should work, and on the 7th day you should rest. Right? Sheshet yamim ta'avod ve'asita kol melachtecha ve'yom ha'shevi'i Shabbat la'Hashem. The next pasuk is in our parasha, chapter 35, verse number 2. Sheshet yamim te'aseh melacha. 6 days, work shall be done. Is literally how you translate it. 6 days, work shall be done. It doesn't say you should do work. Work shall be done. Sheshet yamim te'aseh melacha uvayom ha'shevi'i tishbot. Right? Like we just read. So what's the difference between 6 days do all your work and 6 days all your work shall be done? What's the difference? What's the difference in that message? Everybody understand the question? 6 days you should do all your work, 7th day you rest. Or 6 days your work shall be done, 7th day you rest. What's the difference between shall be done and you should do?
The completion.
Let's see what the answer is. The rabbis explain in the Midrash Rabbah, they say the word te'aseh is the difference. What is the word te'aseh and ya'aseh? What's the difference between the word te'aseh and ya'aseh? The rabbis say that what does te'aseh means? Te'aseh al yedei acherim. Other people will complete your work for you. Te'aseh, in our parasha, is telling us 6 days work shall be completed for you, either on behalf of other people, but the work that you need to be done will be done by other people. However, the other place where it says you shall do work, 6 days ta'avod, you have to do work, ve'asita kol melachtecha, do all your malacha. That is talking about you having to do work for yourself. So the rabbis explain why. In one place it's saying that you have to do work for yourself, but in this place in our parasha it's saying that work should be done for you through other people. The answer is, the rabbis explain in the Midrash that anybody that keeps Devar Hashem, anybody that keeps the word of Hashem, the work, the all avodah, the all of working, meaning to do melacha, to go to work 9 to 5, that yoke will be removed from you, and others will do it for you. So,
including goyim, theoretically, that whether this is talking.
The goyim are not commanded Shabbat. The goyim are not. We're talking about people that keep Shabbat.
So who will do your work for you in this time if they're
very good question. This is what the shir is about. Exactly this question that you have. Who's going to do the work for you? What do you mean? Others are going to do work on my behalf. Okay, I do work 6 days. The Torah is telling me to go to work.
They're
Listen to this.
Yehudim. They're Yehudim. They're Jewish.
Correct. They're Jewish people. So let me explain this to you. The Midrash explains in the name of the rabbis that anybody that fulfills the word of Hashem, 6 days work will be removed from you. Who could say, I did the word of Hashem? Anybody here could say that he did one mitzvah fully, beginning to end, according to the way Hashem wants? How do we know? You did the mitzvah, you had the right kavanot, you had the right thing. Yes, hopefully we do. But it's not just one mitzvah. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to keep all the mitzvah too. You know that, right? The mitzvah in the Torah, rule number 1, don't break any other rules. Right? So, the purpose here is, who could say that I'm keeping all of what Hashem wants? This is a very hard question. Also, Hashem tells Yehoshua, "V'yigita b'yomam v'layla." Hashem says to Yehoshua, I want you to learn Torah day and night. Just an example in that verse. Did he mean literally day and night? Because Yehoshua did go fight wars. Yehoshua did a lot of different things. So does it mean that he literally learned Torah yomam v'layla means all day and all night, or part of the day, part of the night? How do you literally look into every single word of Hashem and say you have to do it?
All day, all night, you know.
So I want to. Hello? Do you hear me? Vayakel? Don't mess me up. Good? Wow, this is a lot of work. I gotta hold this. Okay.
Gotta get your whole better.
I feel famous now. Okay. Listen to this. There's a mahloket Masechet Berachot Daf Lamed Hey Amud Bet, page 35. Folio number 2. I learned that in another shir the other day. Okay. There's a mahloket between Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Ishmael. Mahloket means a big argument between Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Ishmael. According to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, I'm going to summarize the Gemara, we're going to paraphrase. According to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, it is fitting for a person to learn 24/7 and he has no right to worry about Parnasa. That's what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says. No, you don't have a right to worry about Parnasa. He says if a person is going to say I'm worried about Parnasa, there's man harisha, there's a time to plow, there's a time to sow, there's a time to reap. You're never going to learn Torah. You're going to be always busy. If you have to fit Torah in your schedule, you're not doing it right. According to Rabbi Ishmael, nope, you have to have a working and a learning balance. You have to know how many hours to work and how many hours to learn, and that's the avodah. Abaye and Rava comment on this. According to Abaye and Rava, they seem to be siding. Abaye and Rava seem to be siding with who, do you think? Which one do you think is more practical? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, learn 24/7, or Rabbi Ishmael? Rabbi Ishmael, find a way to balance work and learn. So Abaye and Rava seem to say, they said as follows: people tried Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's method, learn Torah 24/7. V'lo al tad be'yadam. That's the lashon the Gemara uses. V'lo al tad be'yadam doesn't mean it doesn't work. Be'yadam it didn't work. V'lo al tad be'yadam, those people didn't have success learning Torah all day. They woke up in the morning, the tooth fairy didn't write a check. But then they tried Rabbi Ishmael's method and it worked. Al tad be'yadam. They had success doing it. So how do we understand What do we do with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? How do we understand Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? And what exactly, success in what? Have success in what? Where are you guys getting this from? It's coming just non-stop.
Don't forget.
What?
I'm a musician, remember?
Don't get me a VR set right now.
Don't worry about it.
We're going to give a shear in the metaverse soon.
It's a Fox News.
Gotcha.
You're gonna buy TV.
Okay,
That's clean.
we'll wait. Is this live on YouTube? We're going to have to edit this out. Fine?
Live streaming.
You believe Vayakel, he does this 100% lishma, Hashem Shamayim, doesn't ask for anything, nothing. He does it, he edits it, whatever he needs to do. It's amazing what he does. Tell me it's not going to fit now.
It's a different size.
Just continue that. Should we do this another time?
You could take out this bottom part.
Let's put it in.
Don't make it squeak.
Most of the speakers are
Yeah, the feedback's
take out the
gonna.
bottom.
Cinnamon.
Alright guys,
Next thing is gonna be a beatbox.
look at this. By the way, you want to know who sponsored this? What's Moshe's last name? Katayev? What's his last name? Moshe Zalk.
Moshe Katar.
Moshe Katayev sponsored the microphones for the shiurim. Thank you, Moshe. He couldn't make it, I'm sure he's watching it. Okay. What was the last thing I said?
About the machloket.
Okay, the machloket. What is the purpose of this machloket? According to one opinion, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in order for a person to alleviate the pain of bringing parnasa, in order for that pain to be removed, you have to jump in. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says 24/7 you have to learn. Then you're not going to worry about parnasa. 24/7 learning Torah. If you don't have to worry about parnasa. Everything's going to be fine. According to Rabbi Ishmael, to alleviate the ola parnasa, to remove the pain of working, the time you have to spend working, you have to find a learning Torah balance and working balance. And this is actually how we paskin, and seemingly in the Shulchan Aruch, in Hilchot Beit HaMidrash, it says, Yelech Adam Beit HaKnesset LeBeit HaMidrash, and Beit HaMidrash Yelech LaAsakav, you should go work. But L'olam Ya'aseh Torato Keva U'melachto Arai. That's what he writes over there, that you should make your Torah fixed. You have a 9 to 5 schedule to learn, but your work is not fixed. Whenever you have a job, you could go do a job. Meaning, your time for Torah is scheduled, but your time to work is not scheduled. We're going to see examples in the Gemara about this. So to incorporate learning with working is to alleviate ola parnasa. Remember that. Both of them argue about how to remove ola parnasa. And why am I bringing this up? Because people say, I don't have time to learn. I don't have time to pray. So I have to bring you something from the Torah that will remove this burden. And this is brought by Hazal. Listen to this. So Rava, Abaye and Rava, right? Rava was the chavrusa of Abaye. And Rava said to his students, 2 months out of the year, Tishrei and another month, don't come to yeshiva. Don't come to learn in yeshiva during those months. Why? Because it was like the market. The market came to town during those 2 months. So those 2 months, it's like the Javits show. You have a jewelry show, you have a car show. Imagine this show was happening for 2 months. So 2 months, go work. Yes, of course, every day you put tefillin, you pray, you learn a little bit. But the main thing, these 2 months, you're going to acquire your whole wealth for the rest of the year. So this is it's a different way of learning Rabbi Ishmael. It's not 24/7 you're learning Torah. Instead it's 2 months of the year you're working, you accumulate enough money, and then you live off that for the rest of the year. Whatever Hashem gives you, He gives you. And it happens to say that Tishrei is one of those months, which is the month where Rosh Hashanah falls out and your parnas is written for the whole year during that month. So it just happens to be that during that month is the example that he gives, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that month. It could be a Nisan and Iyar. It means to go away, to go make money, and then come back and survive off that money for the whole year. So there you have 2 examples: Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And like I said before, people try both methods, and it's seemingly the Gemara writes that people had more success with Rabbi Ishmael's method, which is a learn Torah balance with work. I want to tell you about a hidush from the Maran Ha'admor Mibelz. It's a big Hasidic rabbi. His drashot are amazing. And he explains that what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai meant was something different. And he says why. There's another Gemara that says, Rabbi Yohanan, Mishum, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Yochanan taught him Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. If the Jewish people kept Shabbat 2 times properly, miyad nigalu, they would be redeemed right away. If they kept 2, so the way we learn it is if they kept 2 Shabbats. The Admor Mibelz explains that no, it means something else. It doesn't mean if you kept 2 Shabbats back to back. He says there are 2 types of Shabbat. And that's why this pasuk in the Torah says Shabbat Shabbaton. There's 2 types of Shabbat. The first Shabbat is called the Shabbat for the day, of course. The Shabbat for the day. So the day Shabbat is 6 days you work, 7th day you have Shabbat. There's another form of Shabbat. It's called Shevitat HaMelacha, meaning a person minimizing his work. So Rabbi Shimon, we're good. Just leave it the way it is. I'm okay. Can you lower it? Like put it under my eyes. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So Rabbi Shimon, he's not saying that you have to keep 2 Shabbats back to back. According to this Pirush, it's not 2 Shabbats back to back for Mashiach to come and to have Geulah. What he means is 2 types of Shabbat. One is Shevitat Melacha. One is minimizing work during the week and learning Torah. And 2 is Shabbat Be'atzmo, the actual Shabbos. If the Jewish people kept 2 Shabbats strictly, miyad nigalu, they would right away have the Geulah come. So it doesn't mean necessarily 2 Shabbats back to back. He's giving a chidush here that, of course, maybe 2 Shabbats back to back too, because that's the pshat in the Gemara, and we stick to the pshat normally. But what it means is that there's another type of Shabbat, and that's during the week. During the week, a person has to minimize his work. Yes, it's true. It's hard to take this on to yourself. But person's going to say, Adam Rishon. Wasn't Adam Rishon cursed? That's it. You have to work 6 days a week. You have to work. And this is a curse from Adam. So I'm going to explain to you that Hashem didn't tell Adam Rishon to work after he ate from the tree. He actually told Adam Rishon to work even before he ate from the tree. Vayaniheu began Eden le'ovda ulshom ra. God put Adam Rishon into Gan Eden to work it and to guard it. So people are going to say, what do you think? There was no work to do in the garden. Do you think he had to sit with gloves and take thorns out? That curse, Kotz v'dardar tatzmiach lach, happened after he ate from the tree. So what work did he do in Gan Eden? And the Targum Yonatan ben Uziel says, what work did he do in Gan Eden? He kept Torah and mitzvot, and he spoke to Hashem all day. That was his thing. Whatever Hashem told him, le'ovda ul shomra is limud and maaseh. Le'ovda ul shomra is limud and maaseh. So just to make a quick reminder, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, in order to alleviate all parnasah, there's no such thing as working and learning. You have to learn Torah all day. Rabbi Yishmael comes and he says, no. You have to find a work-life balance. Abaye and Rava say that people tried both methods. They found more success with Rabbi Yishmael's method. And comes the Admor Mibelz. We just wanted to bring a beautiful hidush from him, and he says, don't think that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is saying that 2 Shabbats that you keep back to back, Mashiach is going to come. That's the pshat. Yes, that's the pshat, but there's another pshat to it. The other pshat is that one is Shevitat HaMelacha. That's one type of Shabbat, that during the week, person does less work to increase more limud, to increase more spirituality. And number 2 is Shabbos itself you have to keep. If people kept those 2 types of Shabbos, right away Mashiach will come. That's how he explains it. And Targum Yonatan ben Uziel says, not necessarily does work mean that we're not working. Trust me, sitting to learn is a lot of work too. Because if you're learning and things don't make sense to you, that's even worse. It's like, it's the hardest thing ever. But if you learn it, to make things make sense to you is also very, very difficult. So you're sitting down. Torah is not an easy thing to acquire. We're not talking about Torah is a difficult thing to acquire. To learn halachot, to learn things. If people need all the time. Shabbat questions come up all the time. This morning somebody asked me a shayla. A lady decided to make shakshuka in the oven, bake eggs in the oven, and then she opened the egg box after she already put it in the oven. She cracked it open, and all of them were blood. These were organic eggs. And inside there was veins of blood. The whole thing is treif. It's not even dam, it's treif. So there's halachot over there. The Torah doesn't stop in midrashim and stories. The Torah goes to halacha, and these things you have to take it amkut. This is a job. This is not stam. So at the end of the day, of course, lemaisa, it seems to be that if anybody could, it doesn't say in the Torah it's asur. The Gemara says it's asur to keep the method of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. No, it says lo al tab adam. People didn't have success doing it. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't. If somebody has the means, if a person just got married and the in-laws said, we're going to support you 5 years to learn Torah, you can't say, no, I'm sorry, I want to go work. You can't say that. If they want to support, somebody wants to support you to learn, this is a big thing. These are the people that hold up the world. So, listen to this Hidush. Hidush Nifla. When Hashem cursed Adam and he said, now you're going to have to work, what kind of work did he give him? A different work than in Gan Eden, which was Le'ovda, means Torah mitzvot. What kind of curse did Hashem tell Adam? Ve'kotz ve'dardar tatzmiach lach. Thorns and thistles you're going to have to move to get fruit out, whatever. Ve'achalta et esev hasadeh, only then could you eat wheat. Beze'ata pecha tocha lechem, sweat of your brow, you're going to eat bread. You know bread, how much steps it takes till you have to eat bread. I'm going to knead it, flour, water. Beze'ata pecha tocha lechem, ad shuvecha el ha'adama, death was also part of it. Ki mimena lukachta, you were taken from the ground. Ki afar ata ve'el afar tashuv, you are dust to dust you will return. So what does it mean? V'kotz v'dardar tatzmiach lach. This is an amazing Zohar, Tikkunei Zohar. He says when Hashem cursed Adam with work, He cursed him with 39 types of work. 39 curses in work, corresponding to the 39 melachot of Shabbat. To suspend this curse from a person, He keeps Shabbat, which is pausing those 39 curses. Those 39 curses can only be chal during the week. So when you go to work, you have to turn on your phone, there's a melacha on Shabbat. If a person needs to travel outside the tchum of the city, that's another melacha of Shabbat. All those things are things that were predestined as a curse of mankind for eating from Etz Hadat. Those things get suspended on Shabbat. Hear how amazing this is? So Moshe Rabbeinu gathers the Jewish people, and his face is radiating. They couldn't look at them. He gathers them, and the first message he tells them is this message, Shabbat Shabbaton, of keeping Shabbos. There's a sefer called Sefer Ravid HaZahav. Who wrote Sefer Ravid HaZahav? Anybody know? Rav Naftali Tzvi from Ropshitz. He was a big Gaon, and he says, where do we see roots for Shabbat in Sefer Bereshit? Meaning, Adam was commanded Shabbat. Okay, it's mentioned in Parashat Bereshit. Avraham was commanded Shabbat. Where do we see from our forefathers a sign of them keeping Shabbat? This is a huge hidush. When I read this, I had chills. When Yaakov Avinu was cooking the nazid, Vayazed Yaakov nazid, Yaakov Avinu was making a meal. Say maybe it was Avraham Avinu's yahrzeit, whatever it was. And Esav comes from the field. Vehu ayef, he's hungry. Esav comes to eat, and he says to Yaakov, "Give me your food. I want to." Haliteni na min ha'adom ha'adom hazeh. And at that moment, apparently there was a conversation between them. Esav tells Yaakov, "Why do you care if I eat this food or not? Just give it to me. What do you mean, sell me your bechorah? Why do you care if I want to eat this food? You're the spiritual guy. Food doesn't belong to you. I'm the physical guy. I'm Esav, I'm the Rasha. I like to kill, that day he did 3 averot. Vayavo Esav ben Asadeh ve'hu ayef. Why does it say he's tired? And it says over there, the Midrash writes that on that day he did 3 averot. 3 averot hamurot. 3 bad averas. So he gives a good claim to Yaakov. He says, Yaakov ishtam yoshevu alim. Why do you care about food? Food is that's my territory. Olam hazeh, this world belongs to me. You don't have a right to food. What did Yaakov answer him? So Yaakov answered him, he said, you're right, 100%. I'm ishtam, I'm a simple guy. Yoshevu alim, I'm supposed to learn Torah. You're working out all day, you're eating 500 grams of protein a day, you're very strong, you're wrestling beasts to work out. But me, I have to be tying myself to Hashem, thinking about Hashem, so I'm going to make a deal with you. I have to have this is a similar argument, by the way, between Cain and Hevel. Cain tells Hevel, listen, the ground belongs to me, so everywhere you walk is mine. Hevel said, hey, the sheep belong to me, so everything you eat is mine. The argument, right? So you can't eat anything and you can't walk anywhere. So same thing here. You can't enjoy from this world, you can only enjoy from the next world. What What did Yaakov answer him? Michra chayom et bechoratecha li. He says to him, sell me today your bechora. What does this bechora represent? The old Torah mitzvot hayei olam haba. And Michra chayom, the Midrash explains in Sefer Bamidbar Rabbah, Samach Gimel, Yud Zayin. It says over there that what is Michra Kayom? What a strange lashon. Sell me like this day your bechora. Sell me like this day your firstborn, right? Michra Chayom, they say number one, the Jewish people had 1,000-year break from the descendants of Esau. From the time we left Egypt until the first time we got persecuted by Bnei Esav, chutz from Amalek, because even Amalek was not really considered a descendant of Esav, because he was married through a Pilegesh, that's a shear we gave 3 weeks ago, through a concubine. He wasn't really married into the family of Eliphaz. She wasn't really married into the Timnah, was not really married into the family of Eliphaz, so she was considered not part of the will. But Esav's descendants did not persecute against the Jewish people for 1,000 years. And we know that the word Yom in Tanakh sometimes signifies to 1,000 years. Pasuk in Tehillim, a day for Hashem is 1,000 years. Number two is, Yaakov made a deal with Esav that day, Michra kayom et bechoratecha li, sell me like today your bechorah. What is that kayom? 1 day a week I could enjoy from this world, and your malachim cannot be mekatreg on that. So meaning that 1 day a week I could overindulge a little bit. Indulge, I don't want to say overindulge. Indulge a little bit in olam hazeh. I could eat meat, I could eat fish, I could have a little l'chaim, I could enjoy, I could go take a walk, and the malachim of Esav don't have a word to say. Sell me that day, your malachim can persecute. Michra chayom bechoratecha li. And he sold it to him. Esav said, give me the soup, and he sold it to him. He said, okay, you're a tzaddik, 1 day a week you can have all. What day do you want to enjoy? He said, I want Shabbat. Esav said, go ahead, take Shabbat, no problem. Shabbat, according to the stars, Shabbat, the day of Shabbat gives everybody 2 times the business. Even Ezra. Shabbat, starting Friday night, business is booming 2 times all over the world. Just the way it is. So anybody that tells you, my business is double on Shabbat, yeah, it was designed like that from the 6 days of creation. That on the 6 days of creation, the way the stars are that day, is the malachim are all lining up themselves on your door. So all the haircuts are happening on Saturday. This is a barber question I always get. Rabbi, this day is the busiest day. The busiest day is on Shabbat. I can't, it's hard. It's a big difficulty. Chol HaMoed also. It's a big problem for Jews to give haircuts on Chol HaMoed themselves. Not to get a haircut, them to give a haircut. What are you going to do? You know what kind of test that is? If a Jew walks into your store on Chol HaMoed and says, I want a haircut. You have the guts to turn him around, turn him down? Take a video of that for me. That you'll get 1 million likes. It's not going to happen. You're a special person. This is not, we're not talking about, everybody in here is different. We're talking about, listen to this, Rabbi Nimni. You wanted a hidush, right? He asked me today, so Rabbi, you have to top what you said last week. So, okay, let's see. Michra kayom et bechoratecha li. The Admor Mibel says, kayom is Rashi Tevot, kulam yisbe'u v'yitanegu mituvach. Ve'ashevi ratzita bo v'kidashto. Kulam yisbe'u v'yitanegu mituvach translates to, all of you will enjoy and be satisfied from your goodness on the 7th day, on Shabbat. That Michra Kayom is Rashi Tevot. Kulam yisbe'u v'yitanegu mituvach. Next, the Zohar Kadosh, Parashat Yitro, Peichet, Daf Peichet. He writes as follows: Kol bircha andil elav tata'a b'yoma shevi'ah talyan. All the brachos that come from Shemayim are dependent on the people that keep the 7th day, that keep Shabbat. If all the parnasa, everything is stems from the way that day is kept holy. The Zohar over there writes there's 6 days of the week. Yes, it's true that there are 7 24-hour days, but it's 6 days of the week. The 7th day is called Shabbat. It's not part of the calculation of the week. It's just that's the day that the reset button keeps getting pressed. It just it's on Shabbat, and that reset button is getting pressed is the new parnasa for the week coming in. Now watch this. Kol bircha andil elav etata'a b'yoma shevi'ah talyan. Rashi Tevot kavod Shabbat. Literally. Take it out. Chaf Beis Vav Dalet Beis Shin Taf. Kavod Shabbat. No. This is the Admar, on me. This is the Sefer Rabbi. Which means that that if a person honors Shabbos, all the brachas, the 7 days of the week, it'll all be pre-designated on this 7th day. So we're looking for a balance. The whole purpose of the shiur today is the challenge from last week. Brought a lot of people say it's cutting into my work, it's cutting into my job. Shabbos is the thing. Shabbat is what is going to alleviate the ola parnasa from you, but it has to be kept properly. Masechet Shabbat daf kuf yud chet 118 Shabbos. Anybody that enjoys on Shabbos, goes out of his way to enjoy on Shabbat, they will give him inheritance. Nahala means net worth, is called nahala. Bli metzarim, without pain. Your net worth will grow without metzarim, without growing pains. Next, anybody that keeps Shabbos, whatever your heart desires, meaning everybody's going to work for a certain goal, house, car, whatever you want, and you want to set your kids up, whatever it is, they'll give you kol mishal libo if you just honor and enjoy Shabbos. Masechet Shabbat daf kuf yutet, page 118. It says they asked Rabbi Yochanan, why were the Jews in Israel so rich? Why are the Jews in Israel so rich? He answered them because they keep maaser, aser ta'aser. Give maaser kadei shetit asher. You give maaser, you're going to become rich. So they asked him, okay, what about Bavel? There's no mitzvah of maaser in Bavel. Maaser is only tali ba'aretz. But when I'm talking about maaser, I'm not talking about 10% of your paycheck. I'm talking about back then they used to take 10% of their crop, which came out to a lot more than your paycheck. But they took maaser and they would give to the Beit HaMikdash, to the Kohen Levi. In Bavel, you don't have maaser. What did he answer them? He said Shabbat. In Bavel, you want to know why some of the rabbis in Bavel were so wealthy. Well, in Israel, they were so wealthy that they had cities and boats. They forgot they even owned it. If they didn't get their rent roll for that week from that property, they'd be like, I didn't even know. Just passed my. They were so wealthy. They had so much money. So Shabbat, and don't think that in Israel that means they don't have to keep Shabbat. In Israel, it's Shabbat and Maaser. Chutz la'aretz in Bavel, since there's no Maaser, it was Shabbat that gave all the wealth. So there's a way to keep Shabbat and keep Shabbat only on Shabbos, and you'll understand what I mean by this. Meaning, once Shabbos is over, that's it. Shabbos left. So Motzei Shabbat is now. Motzei Shabbat comes. It's like, oh, thank God, Shabbos. Give my phone, give my cigarette, and that's it. Shabbos is gone. It doesn't exist with you next day. The way to alleviate this, by the way, is Melava Malka is a very, very important thing. That Melava Malka doesn't mean out with your friends. Yes, it could be done with your friends, but what Melava Malka means is you're not letting go of Shabbos so easy. Melava Malka means you're escorting the queen. So it's not escorting the queen. You don't say, okay, bye. Phone's on and that's it. Escorting the queen means that you're spending a little bit of time. Listen, can't wait till next week. Now Shabbos is on your mind the whole week. So one of the ways of how you keep Shabbos, and of course Melachas on Shabbos is very important. There's a gray sefer that I bought a long time ago, and I read it every week. It's very, very good. It's called 39 Melachas. That's the name of it. It's great. If you learn that with the Yalkut Yosef side to side, so you have the elaborations that the 39 Melachas makes, which is based on the Shomer Shabbos Kilchata, and it's a gray sefer. It's in English, 4 volumes, and the Yalkut Yosef 3 volumes of Shabbos. Nobody has an excuse today. I'm telling you, every week you have to go through this. You're going to see, wow, I'm doing so many things not right. But one of the things that I want to bring up today is one of the ways to honor Shabbos. Now my whole head is focused around this microphone. But one of the ways to honor Shabbos is peace on Shabbat. Peace on Shabbat. And if a person has peace on Shabbat, that is how you really draw down the bracha. And do you know when most of the light for Shabbat shines? The most of the Kedusha for Shabbos, do you know when it shines? It's like a giant spiritual explosion the first few minutes of Shabbos. The first few minutes of Shabbos is a very, very holy time. That's why it's important to accept Shabbos on time. Those that accept Shabbat 13 and a half minutes after Shkia is considered B'diavad according to many poskim. But a person should keep Shabbat because the first initial few points of Shabbos are extremely, extremely holy. And listen to what we're going to read now, something. I have to read it for you inside, because we're going to read some sources from the Chida Kadosh. We're going to read some things from the Ben Ish Hai, and we're going to read some things from Reb Chaim Palaji. Sfaradi. Then we're going to say some stories about some very giant Ashkenazi rabbis as well. We have everything here. We say all Torahs here. Listen to this from the Chida HaKadosh. Beha'alot ha-mincha be'erev Shabbat Kodesh. When Mincha is finishing on Erev Shabbat. Hu et mesukan lemachloket ben ish leishto uven ha-misharetim. It's a very dangerous time during that time for a person to argue between him and his wife, between him and his misharetim, your maid, or anybody you have who helps you. That time, ve'arbet torach, there's a lot of work that's involved during the time. It's very stressful. And he says it's mesukan, it's dangerous. He doesn't say that it's advisable not to. He says there's a danger during this time to fight with your wife, or to fight with your maid, or fight with anybody that forgot a box at Mountain Fruit until half an hour before Shabbat. You didn't realize? Very hard to hold yourself. Take the name of the store out. Okay. The Sitra Achra knows exactly. He knows the Torah. He knows how to press your buttons to make you crazy Erev Shabbat. A person that fears Shabbat, a person that fears Hashem, Yichof Yitzro, he should force himself. Force yourself not to start any fight, not to continue a fight, not to have any stubbornness. You should right away try to seek peace. Or go in peace. Or it means get lost, meaning don't even attempt it. Just leave and let it die out itself. You should pray slowly mincha for Shabbat properly. Because that's the explosion of the Kedusha of Shabbos in the heavens. The Ben Ish Chai brings this chida, and he says, "Veda ki ine kol adam ha'osek ktata u'mriva im ishto u'banav u'misharetav." You should know any person that makes a fight with his wife or his kids or his maid erev Shabbat, vadai nir'alo she'adin imo. You could see that the judgment is with him. Judgment means they're very meticulous with him in his shamayim. The judgment that comes we don't want judgment. We want mercy. We learned about mercy last week. You want to know why a person has judgment in his life, has strictness in his life? So this is it. You should know that. You want to know who in the house is the cause of the deen? The person that is making machloket erev Shabbat. Because he says, they're wrong. I know that I'm right. That's why I'm fighting on Shabbos. He's really going to the justifying chapter. He's trying to justify. I'm right. She's wrong. She forgot. I didn't forget. And that fight that's happening means you're instead of bringing mercy to the world, which Shabbat is all kulo chesed, he's bringing judgment. Ach be'emet mi sheyesh lo moach bekodkodo. He writes something. He says anybody that has a brain in his head, ben yavin she'im yatsa eze mechshol mitachat yadam enenu naaseh meitam ve'en ze maaseh yedehem. He says, don't think that your wife said anything wrong, or your kids said anything wrong, or the store delivered something late. It's not that. It's not them. You should know that at that moment it was all the Satan. It's not from this world. Why didn't it happen on a Tuesday? If it happens on a Tuesday, then you could yell and scream. But on Friday, if it happens, you can't yell and scream, because it's not your wife, it's not you, it's not anybody, it's the Satan. Let's continue. If the Satan stands with your wife or with the maid and makes things messed up in your house, or messes something up for the Baal Habayit, ask yourself, do you think your wife is a match for the Satan? The Satan will eat you, not just her. He can eat you and her together. You think a person could fight the Satan and win? Who could say, I could fight the Satan and win? You should know that if there's anything wrong in the house out of Shabbat, don't pay attention to fight with your wife or the maid. Accept upon yourself this personal holding yourself back. This is the truth. This is the Satan. This will help you not to fight with them. V'tovlo ba'olam hazeh v'olam haba. You get rewarded for this in this world and next world. The Gemara brings a story of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir said that he heard that there was a neighbor fighting Shabbat after Shabbat. Eventually on Shabbat he just went and sat in their house. Because next to a guest,
They're not gonna fight.
yeah.
At least they'll try.
So, they'll fight with their eyes. Okay? Next, Rabbi Chaim Palaji, Siman Chav Zayin Od Lamed He. He brings the words of the Chida, and he adds, he says like this. He says he copied what Rabbi Meir did. He had a neighbor that was fighting with his wife hard. He heard on Shabbat, banging, screaming. And he went to the house, and he sat down in their house, and he stayed there. And weeks later, the man came to him and said, "Thank you so much for doing that." Now, I guess they paid attention to the noise that they made, and neighbors could hear, and they were nice on Shabbat to each other. But the point is, he saved them from fighting. The Arizal, very sad, very sad. He says, this is the story of how the Arizal died, how he was niftar. He says, Achar Kach, the Rabbi Chaim Vital said a situation about how some of the arguments between the students of the Arizal broke out. And listen to this. Achar Kach asa Arizal heskir echad le'elu asara havirim. There were 10 friends that learned, 10 chavrusas. And the Arizal made a heskir. Heskir is like an enclosure. I guess a house, let's say. They had a house. ותיקן חדרים לאנשים ועטף בפני עצמו בעוד החצר של הבית להסגר עצמו. So this house that he had, he brought all the families, put the wives in one room with the kids, and the men in other rooms. So חמישה חודשים, after 5 months, נפלה קטטה אחת בין הנשים בערב שבת. 2 of the families, their wives got into a fight, ערב Shabbat. And we just said a minute ago, if a fight happens ערב Shabbat, who is it? It's a Satan. The wives went and told their husbands, you know what Mrs. Ploni Aloni said? Oh, you know what she said? And they started a fight. So, wow, I'm going to go talk. And the 2 husbands now started to go fight with each other. And then the Chavrusas started fighting with each other. And the Arizal, the Arizal always used to tell me, you can't fight, especially every Shabbat. You have to have peace between each other. And on that day, they broke the words of the Ari. They didn't care about peace, and they fought with each other. These enemies now of each other, they fought with each other. They're like enemies. They came out of Shabbat to go accept Shabbos. They're looking at each other, with hate. Erev Shabbat. The Arizal came out of shul, and he was very bitter and he was very upset. The whole time he prayed like a mourner. Aninut is the worst time of mourning. Rabbi Chaim Vital, when his prime student, Rabbi Chaim Vital, when he saw the Arizal, and that attitude, for the Arizal to be sad, not a simple thing. Nifhal me'od, he was wondering, how could the Arizal be sad? 2 people fighting in the yeshiva, so he's going to be sad, he's not going to accept Shabbos, like, happy? Kilo kenaya min hagola asod. The Arizal never acted this way. After they finished davening, Rabbi Chaim went, ve'amar lo Rabbeinu, lama re'iticha kol zman atfilah azot ba'aninut tumar nafesh. Why the whole time during davening you were crying, you were like aninut, you were like a mourner? Amar le Arizal, mipnei shera'iti b'kabbalat Shabbat hasamech mem harasha. He says, I saw the devil Erev Shabbat standing next to us. Ve'amar zeh pasuk, and he said this pasuk, and then he flew away. Gam atem, gam malkechem tisafu. What is that pasuk? In Shmuel Aleph, when Shaul HaMelech went to a mechashefa, a woman, to tell him his fortune, and according to many Mefarshim, she totally played him. She pretended like she didn't know who he was, and he really, whatever. All of this is a game. There's no such thing as fortune tellers. They're all there to take your money. They're all there to make you take you out of reality. Like Haman, go look what happened to Haman. You think there's a fortune teller today better than the wife of Haman? She was the fortune teller, witches of all witches. She taught all the witches forever. And what happened to her? They hung Haman, and then her witch didn't work. You think it's going to work for you from these people? It's not going to work. Don't think about these things. What happens? So Shaul HaMelech goes to this woman, and she brings the neshama of Shmuel, and Shmuel tells him that basically tomorrow you're going to pass, and also the people with you in your army are going to pass. They're going to lose the war. And he says, I know from that pasuk what that means is nechtam gzar adin ba'alotenu harabim, because these people fought in the yeshiva, they're going to, they're going to take him away. The Arizal is going to go. Shekol zman shaya shalom beinehem lo haya knisa lemekatreg. The whole time when our yeshiva had peace, the Satan cannot come inside. But now that there's fights and the students don't like each other, the Satan can come inside, and now he's going to take me away. That year where the Arizal died, 30-something years old. 30-something years old. So you see how important it is to have peace, not just all the time, but this happened Erev Shabbat. The Satan is waiting to hear what is your complaint of the day, and what are you so makpid about, what are you so meticulous about. We're not supposed to be meticulous like that. I want to tell you another story. There's a story. Anybody know who the Alter of Slobodka was? Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel. Heard of him? Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel he knew how to train Talmidim. He knew how to train them. He's a professional at finding the glory in each Talmud, in each Talmid. Some Talmidim have a beautiful memory. Some Talmidim have a good for Hidushim. Some Talmidim have good voices. They all have different kochot. Some are good darshanim. Whatever it is, he knew the strengths of each Talmid. And one of the stories that they said about him was one Shabbat, his own son became very, very ill. And he was worried about his son all Shabbat, whatever it was. And finally the students, they heard the bad news that his son passed on Shabbat. Now, I just said a moment ago, Shabbat, you're not supposed to be sad. So the students didn't say to him on Shabbat, because you're not allowed to give bad besorah on Shabbat. But the students, they were kind of acting different with the rabbi. So he understood that perhaps there is something sad that happened, and he put two and two together. He realized that his son passed, and his son was very sick. So what is he going to do? Shabbat is not just about the melachot, it's about the attitude too. Keeping the attitude of Shabbat is not an easy thing. The whole time he held himself. Right away he took out the Shulchan Aruch, Hilchot Shabbat, Hilchot Yom Tov, to look up if you're allowed to cry on Shabbat, because he couldn't hold himself, and it feels good to cry. When you need to cry and you let it out, it alleviates the stress. So there's a leniency. It's brought down. If it's going to help you to relieve your stress, you're allowed to cry on Shabbat and Yom Tov. But he had a doctor that was one of his students, was a doctor in the yeshiva, and he said to him, I can't hold myself. If I hold myself, is it dangerous for me? So the doctor checked his pulse, he checked him out, he said, listen, Rabbi, I know you're strict with what you keep, you're allowed to hold it in, no problem, but you have a heter, you have a leniency, you're allowed to cry if you need to cry. The Rabbi said, no, if I'm healthy, I'm going to hold it. He held it till after Shabbat. Once Shabbat finished, he burst for 2 hours crying straight. For 2 hours crying straight. So you see from here how much is personal pain. For him, Shabbat came first. Now you answer yourself. If I leave the TV on timer, could I watch TV on Shabbat? Do I have to answer that question for you? Is it a Isur Melacha Deoraita? Maybe not, but it's definitely Mechalel the Kavod Shabbat. It's definitely not the atmosphere what Shabbat is supposed to be. So this is something, also basketball on Shabbat, also biking on Shabbat. This is not what Shabbat was designed for. Shabbat was designed for something else. And I'm going to prove to you from the Torah, another place in the Torah, where we see somebody keep Shabbat. You want to hear? The brothers of Yosef came to Egypt the second time. And the brothers came to Egypt the second time, and Yosef tells the brothers, Shalom Aleichem, right? He says, Shalom Lachem. He tells his Misharet, he tells his servant, who the Midrash explains later on was Menashe, his son, what that means is go and butcher an animal and prepare it, because these people will eat with me today. The Midrash explains what day was that? Erev Shabbat. So we see from here straightforward that Yosef kept Shabbat. Why did Yosef keep Shabbat? Because we just explained. One of those things is that Esav took Shabbat and gave it away to Yaakov, all the schar for Shabbat. He ben zekunim hulo, who was the favorite son of Yaakov, was Yosef. He instilled into him all the secrets of Shabbos. Yosef kept Shabbos in Mitzrayim. Not like we're keeping Shabbat. Some call me, I need to leave my store open. Can this and that? In Mitzrayim, he kept Shabbat. In Mitzrayim, he kept Shabbat. The brothers came. When the brothers came, Tvoach Tevach Ve'achen, he prepared for them a meal. What's Ve'achen? What, Rabbi Nimni, what's Ve'achen? Ve'achilu et asher hichinu, Parashat Haman. Right? Hechinu et asher eviu. They prepared what they ate. They ate what they prepared. Parashat Haman is talking about Shabbat. So, as you can see over there, that Yosef HaTzadik kept Shabbat, and as a schar, did you ever see Yosef asking for money? No, it says, Vayilaket Yosef et kol ha-kesef ha-nimtza be'eretz Mitzrayim. Yosef collected all the money which was nimtza, found in Mitzrayim. He never had to go out and work, okay guys, we're going to go and sanction this country so we could keep more for ourselves. No, he didn't do that. Hanimtza, it was found in Egypt. Why? Because he kept Shabbat. So, if you want to know the way to alleviate the Ola Parnasa, of course, a person has to have set times for learning Torah every single day, but on top of that, Vayakel Moshe et kol adat b'nei Yisrael, after Moshe Rabbeinu's face was radiating, the Jewish people were scared to come close to them. He gathered them and he taught them the halachot of Shabbat. You want to alleviate the 39 curses of work, you have to observe to make sure not to break the 39 melachot of Shabbat. If a person is going to keep the 39 melachot of Shabbat properly, first of all, it's going to really quickly bring the Geulah. Number two, it alleviates all parnasah during the week. And number three, even though Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says you should learn 24/7 and only that's going to alleviate it, but maybe take the advice of the Admor Mibels, who says there's two Shabbats that he says, Rabbi Shimon says you have to keep, and right away the Redeemer is going to come. One is Shevitat Melacha. Maybe work a little less during the week to learn. Just try it out. Another challenge this week. One day out of the week, see if you're really out. I'll tell you some of the truth of the truth. I'm telling you, this happens to be. Friday, 3:55. Most of my emails come in that I'm waiting for all week. Waiting for a week. Friday, 3:55 is already like that's the Yetzer Hara. Now right away I'm ready. I want to answer. It's a very hard test. A very hard test. Friday, 3:55 p.m. It's what happens. But in our shul, this place is such a special place. We have members in our shul asking me for weeks after weeks if we could make Shir HaShirim before Shabbat. All right, we'll have 5 people. We'll do it. We'll make Shir HaShirim before Shabbat, before Mincha. So that's 15 minutes, 20 minutes before Mincha. They want to make Shir HaShirim in our shul. This is how special this place is. But the purpose is Hashem created Shabbat to keep us connected to Him, and nobody else. If a goy keeps Shabbat, is Hayav Mitah. He cannot keep Shabbat. So why take this gift and not only reap the benefits from it after Shabbat is over, but keep Shabbat with you throughout the whole week? And the way to keep Shabbat with you the whole week is through learning Torah. During that time when you're learning Torah, there's no malacha. You can't learn Torah while doing a malacha. Yes, you can listen to shiurim when you're driving, and that is considered learning. But then there's a amkut, there's a le'ayen, to sit and to learn something difficult. That you can't do while driving. You can't learn shach or a taz or even a chumash Rashi while driving a car. So, Bezrat Hashem, through doing this, we will alleviate all of parnasah. We'll have more time to learn Torah, and through keeping Shabbat Kiyuchata, we'll have the Geulah B'mehera B'yameinu. Amen. Rabbi Hinanya Merakash.
שאומר, זה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות יקדים תורה וידים